Good morning, I'm Peter Milios from the Finance News Network. Stocks rose on Tuesday as strong earnings and encouraging inflation data put the S&P 500 on track for its best January in 4 years. Traders have assessed how some of the largest firms are faring amid high inflation and fears of slowing consumer spending. Overnight, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 1.1%, the S&P 500 gained 1.5%, whilst the Nasdaq Composite added 1.7%. Investors on Tuesday got bullish news on the inflation front before the Federal Reserve's latest decision on interest rates. The Employment Cost Index, which is an important measure of wages eyed by the Fed, showed compensation increased 1% in the fourth quarter. It was below the 1.1% estimate from the Dow Jones. Traders widely expect a quarter-point increase in rates by the Fed, but they are hoping softening inflation will cause Chairman Jerome Powell to signal a pause in tightening in the near future. Stocks have had a stellar start to 2023. The S&P 500 and Dow are up more than 5% and 2% in January, on pace for their third positive month in 4. The Nasdaq Composite has risen about 10% this month, headed for its best monthly performance since July, and strong earnings have contributed to this. Overnight, Pulte Group shares surged more than 8% after the home builder reported better than expected earnings. Shares of ExxonMobil also rose more than 1% following earnings. And General Motors shares jumped more than 8% after the largest auto manufacturer in the US posted solid earnings. The car company also announced some big news that they are making a $650 million investment in lithium mine in the US to secure raw materials for the electric vehicle batteries, a record investment by the car maker. The initial investment of $320 million will give General Motors exclusive rights to the first stage of the lithium production at Thacker Pass in Nevada, and a 10% stake in Lithium America, with a further $330 million to follow. On the other end of the spectrum, however, Bed Bath & Beyond is reportedly preparing to file for bankruptcy as soon as this week, with liquidators lined up to close additional stores. The company is in talks to secure a loan from the investment firm Sixth Street and has already closed 87 Bed Bath & Beyond stores and 5 buyback baby stores, in addition to the 150 closures announced last year. The S&P 500 sectors performed well overnight. Materials and consumer discretionary were the best, each closing by 2.2%. To commodity-related news, the Philippine government is planning to impose an up to 10% tax on nickel ore exports. However, the proposed tax could kill the industry, according to Dante Bravo, the head of Philippine Nickel Industry Association. Bravo is advocating for the government to understand the industry's stance on the proposed tax, which is aimed at encouraging local miners to invest in processing instead of just exporting raw ore. The Philippines is the second largest producer of nickel in the world, with a global market share of 13%, so this will no doubt trickle down to the Australian nickel players. And demand for gold reached a high in 2022, fueled by central bank purchases that demonstrated the asset's appeal as a safe haven during geopolitical turmoil. The World Gold Council reported that gold demand increased by 18% last year, driven by a 55-year high in central bank purchases and retail investor purchases to protect themselves from high inflation. The anticipation of reduced interest rate hikes by the US in 2023 has weakened the US dollar's strength, which will potentially drive up gold prices further. The SPY futures are pointing to a 0.6% gain. Thank you for listening.